What if one of the most useful foods for your heart, blood sugar, digestion, and appetite has been sitting in your pantry all along? Not an expensive powder, not a rare superfood, just beans. Black beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, navy beans, pinto beans, and lentils are inexpensive, widely available, and easy to store. Yet many women over 50 rarely eat them. Some believe beans contain too many carbohydrates. Others avoid them because they expect gas, bloating, or digestive discomfort. And many simply do not know how to use them beyond a bowl of chili. But beans are unusual because they bring several important nutrients together in one food. They provide plant protein, dietary fiber, slowly digested carbohydrates, and minerals. The American Heart Association includes beans and other legumes in a heart-healthy eating pattern because they can provide protein and fiber without the saturated fat found in many animal foods. This does not mean that 1 cup of beans will reverse aging, cure diabetes, or lower cholesterol in every person. Beans are not a replacement for prescribed medication, resistance training, or a balanced diet. But when they replace a lower fiber food or part of a meal high in saturated fat, they can meaningfully improve the overall quality of your diet. In this video, you will learn what may happen when you eat beans regularly after 50, why they can support steadier blood sugar and healthier cholesterol, how they affect your gut, why they may help you feel full, and how to introduce them without making your stomach miserable. At the end, I will give you a simple 14-day plan that begins with only a few spoonfuls and gradually works toward a practical serving. Many people hear the word carbohydrate and assume that all carbohydrate-rich foods affect the body in the same way. They do not. A sweet pastry, a bowl of refined cereal, and a serving of beans may all contain carbohydrates, but their physical structure and nutrient content are very different. Beans contain fiber and plant protein. Their starch is held within a dense food structure, so digestion is generally slower than it is with highly refined foods. This helps explain why beans and other pulses are commonly described as low glycemic foods. After you eat, carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. The speed and amount entering the bloodstream influence the rise in blood sugar and the insulin response. Fiber slows digestion and adds bulk. Protein also contributes to fullness and changes the way a mixed meal is digested. As a result, replacing part of a refined starch with beans may produce a different post-meal response than eating the refined starch alone. A systematic review of medium and long-term legume trials found that legumes may improve some markers of glycemic control, although results were not identical across populations and studies. A separate randomized trial in adults with type 2 diabetes found that a low glycemic diet emphasizing legumes improved glycemic control compared with a high wheat fiber diet. These findings support beans as part of a healthy eating pattern, but they do not prove that beans alone can treat diabetes. This distinction matters after 50 because insulin sensitivity can be affected by inactivity, loss of muscle, sleep, body fat distribution, medications, and the overall dietary pattern. Imagine a lunch made from white bread, processed meat, and chips. Now imagine replacing the chips with a bean and vegetable salad and reducing the amount of processed meat. The second meal adds fiber and plant protein while reducing the proportion of highly refined carbohydrates and possibly saturated fat and sodium, depending on how it is prepared. The benefit comes from the whole substitution, not from beans performing magic inside the body. One of the strongest areas of research on pulses involves blood lipids. LDL cholesterol is often called bad cholesterol because higher levels contribute to the development of plaque in the arteries. Diet is only one factor influencing LDL. Genetics, age, thyroid function, body weight, activity, and medication also matter. Beans may support a healthier cholesterol profile partly because of their fiber and partly because they can replace foods higher in saturated fat. A meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials concluded that eating non-soy legumes reduced total and LDL cholesterol. Another controlled trial involving adults with elevated LDL found that consuming 1 cup of canned beans daily lowered total and LDL cholesterol during the intervention. However, the effect was modest, and a single trial cannot guarantee the same result for every person. A later systematic review also found improvements in some lipid and glucose measures when legume intake increased, while noting that not every outcome improved and that longer trials are needed. This is the realistic message. Beans can be one useful part of a heart-healthy pattern, especially when they replace some red or processed meat, refined grains, or foods high in saturated fat. They should not be presented as a substitute for cholesterol medication when medication is medically indicated. Preparation also matters. A bowl of beans cooked with large amounts of bacon, sausage, salt, and sugary sauce is nutritionally different from beans prepared with vegetables, herbs, olive oil, lemon, or spices. Canned beans are convenient, but some varieties contain substantial sodium. Look for no salt added or low sodium on the label. Draining and rinsing standard canned beans can also help remove excess sodium. The goal is not to make beans tasteless. Use garlic, cumin, smoked paprika, black pepper, chili, vinegar, lemon juice, fresh herbs, or a small amount of olive oil to build flavor. When you eat beans, not every carbohydrate is completely digested in the small intestine. Some fibers and fermentable carbohydrates reach the large intestine, where gut microbes can use them. This fermentation is one reason beans may support the gut environment. It is also the reason beans can produce gas. Gas is not automatically a sign that beans are harming you. It often means that intestinal microbes are fermenting material that human digestive enzymes did not fully break down. However, discomfort can become a real barrier. A food is not useful if you eat a huge serving once, feel terrible, and never touch it again. Human research suggests that pulses can influence gut microbial composition and metabolism, but the evidence is still developing. Reviews have found that studies differ in the type of pulse, serving size, duration, and methods used to measure the microbiome. We should therefore avoid claiming that beans create one guaranteed, perfect microbiome. The practical benefit is simpler. Beans help increase dietary fiber. Fiber supports stool bulk and can help with constipation when it is increased gradually and accompanied by enough fluid. The National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases notes that adults generally need about 22 to 34 grams of fiber per day, depending on age and sex, and advises drinking enough fluids when increasing fiber. But adding too much fiber too quickly can cause gas and bloating. Nick recommends increasing fiber gradually. For people with sensitive digestion or irritable bowel syndrome, a slow increase may reduce symptoms. This is why beginning with 1 full cup on day 1 is not appropriate for everyone. Your digestive system may need time to adapt. Beans are often described as filling because they combine fiber, protein, water, and slowly digested carbohydrates. That combination can help a meal feel more substantial. But beans do not directly melt belly fat. Weight change still depends on the broader pattern of energy intake, food choices, activity, sleep, medical conditions, and medications. The more useful question is this: what are the beans replacing? If you add a cup of beans on top of an already oversized meal, total calories still increase. If you use beans to replace part of a large serving of refined rice, fatty meat, processed snacks, or cheese, the meal may become higher in fiber and lower in saturated fat while remaining satisfying. For example, consider Maria, a fictional 58-year-old woman who becomes hungry every afternoon. Her usual lunch is a small salad with very little protein. By 3 p.m., she is searching for cookies or crackers. Instead of simply telling Maria to use more willpower, we can improve the lunch. She adds half a cup of chickpeas, chopped vegetables, and a small serving of chicken or yogurt-based dressing. The meal now contains more fiber and protein. Maria may feel fuller for longer, not because chickpeas suppress appetite like a drug, but because the meal is more nutritionally complete. This example is illustrative, not a medical case. Individual appetite responses vary. Beans provide useful plant protein, but they should not be treated as the only protein source for every older adult. Maintaining muscle after 50 also requires adequate total protein, enough calories, and resistance exercise. Depending on the rest of the diet, beans can be combined with foods such as fish, eggs, dairy, tofu, poultry, whole grains, nuts, or seeds. The first mistake is starting with too much. If you rarely eat legumes, 1 cup can feel like a digestive shock. Begin with 2 to 4 tablespoons. The second mistake is assuming all canned bean dishes are low in sodium. Read the label. A serving size on the package may be smaller than the amount you actually eat. The third mistake is adding beans without replacing anything. Beans are nutritious, but they still provide energy. Use them to improve the composition of the meal rather than simply making every meal larger. The fourth mistake is ignoring persistent symptoms. Mild, temporary gas may improve as intake increases gradually. Severe pain, persistent diarrhea, vomiting, blood in the stool, unexplained weight loss, or ongoing abdominal swelling should not be dismissed as normal fiber adjustment. Those symptoms require medical evaluation. The fifth mistake is following a one-size-fits-all kidney diet. Beans contain potassium and phosphorus, but whether they need to be limited depends on kidney function, laboratory results, dialysis status, and the rest of the diet. The National Kidney Foundation notes that many people with chronic kidney disease do not automatically need to avoid beans, while people with elevated potassium or phosphorus may need individualized guidance from a kidney dietitian. The sixth mistake is believing that beans must be eaten plain. Beans can be added to soup, salad, tacos, grain bowls, vegetable dishes, dips, or mashed into a sandwich filling. A healthy habit survives because it fits your life, not because it follows one perfect recipe. This plan is designed for someone who currently eats beans rarely. If you already tolerate them well, you may begin with a larger serving. Days 1 through 3. Add 2 tablespoons of well-rinsed canned beans or thoroughly cooked beans to one meal. Try black beans in scrambled eggs, chickpeas in a salad, or white beans in soup. Do not change several high-fiber foods at the same time. You want to know how your body responds to the beans. Drink water regularly unless a healthcare professional has placed you on a fluid restriction. Days 4 through 6. Increase to 1/4 cup once a day. Chew slowly and eat the beans as part of a mixed meal rather than consuming a large bowl by themselves. Record any symptoms: gas, bloating, abdominal pain, stool changes, or unusual fullness. Mild gas is not necessarily a reason to stop. Reduce the portion if the discomfort interferes with your day. Days 7 through 10. Increase to 1/3 or 1/2 cup per day if the previous portion was comfortable. Use beans to replace something rather than simply adding them. Replace part of the ground meat in tacos with black beans. Replace part of a refined grain side dish with lentils. Add chickpeas to lunch instead of relying only on crackers or bread. Days 11 through 14. Move toward 1/2 to 1 cup per day if you tolerate it, and the serving fits your calorie, carbohydrate, kidney, and digestive needs. You do not need to force yourself to reach 1 cup. For some people, 1/2 cup is a practical long-term serving. Others may divide 1 cup between lunch and dinner. At the end of day 14, ask 4 questions. Did the beans improve the quality of my meals? Did I feel satisfied for longer? Did my digestion adapt? Can I continue this habit without making meals complicated? The best long-term target is the amount you tolerate, enjoy, and can use consistently within an overall balanced eating pattern. Beans are not glamorous, and that may be part of their value. They are affordable, familiar, and flexible enough to use in dozens of meals. Their combination of fiber, plant protein, and slowly digested carbohydrates can support a more satisfying diet. Clinical research suggests that regular legume intake may modestly improve LDL cholesterol and some measures of blood sugar, particularly when beans are included as part of a healthier overall eating pattern. But the most important lesson is not that everyone must eat exactly 1 cup. The important lesson is to begin at the level your body can tolerate. Start with a few spoonfuls. Rinse canned beans when appropriate. Use them to replace part of a less nutritious food. Increase gradually, and pay attention to how your digestion responds. If you have diabetes, chronic kidney disease, significant digestive symptoms, or a medically prescribed diet, discuss major changes with your healthcare professional or registered dietitian. Consistency matters more than forcing a perfect serving. This week, choose one variety: black beans, chickpeas, lentils, kidney beans, or navy beans, and add a small amount to one familiar meal. Which type of bean would be easiest for you to eat regularly? Share your answer in the comments. And if you want practical, science-based guidance for staying strong, energetic, and healthy after 50,
which bean will you try? Subscribe to Nature and Youth. Ask your clinician if needed.